Action potentials travel from the brain to the motor neuron. At the chemical synapse, the axon terminals meet at the motor end plate of a skeletal muscle fiber, shown here. Calcium channels open on the end of the axon terminal when the action potential reaches the end of the synapse. Calcium then goes into the terminal. Calcium then triggers the release of acetylcholine. The acetylcholine then binds to its receptors on the motor end plate. These receptors then open ligand-gated cation channels. Sodium then enters the muscle fiber and potassium leaves it, thus causing an action potential to travel down the sarcolemma. The action potential is carried through the sarcolemma through T-tubes. The T-tubes make contact with the calcium-storing sarcoplasmic reticulum. The junction between the sarcoplasmic reticulum and the T-tubes is called the terminal cisternae. The protein that joins them is activated by the action potential. This allows calcium ions to enter the sarcoplasm. This triggers a contraction of the muscle fibers, also called excitation. The contraction of a muscle is due to the cross-bridge cycle. Looking inside the muscle fiber, you will find the functional unit of contraction is called a sarcomere, which contains lots of muscle myofilaments. A contraction happens when calcium binds to troponin. Troponin then changes shapes and causes tropomyosin to move away from the binding sites on actin. This allows the myosin head to bind to the actin. This forms a cross bridge. Now they are bonded. The myosin head can bind to the actin because the ATP has bonded to it and turned into ADP, allowing the head to have free energy to bind. After the myosin head bonds to the actin, the extra phosphate is released. The ADP is then released and the head pivots, sliding the microfilament toward the center of the sarcomere. Then ATP bonds back to the myosin head and detaches. Contraction ends when the calcium ions are actively transported back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Then troponin and tropomyosin return to their original position. This process allows us to contract our muscles and move our bodies.